Hi, everyone. Long time no speak. Um, I felt it's necessary for me to kind of make a quick video. Let's see how quick it's going to be in regard to what's transpiring right now. Most of what's going on is very similar to that of which the Civil War occurred, where brother was against brother, where people were divided on an issue. Now, many of you think that the issue of the Civil War was one of abolition. That is not the case. The issue of the Civil War was that of the cotton gin. What happened was the cotton gin allowed a much more efficient way to pick cotton and to separate the bits of the cotton plant from the actual product, thereby making cotton cheaper for the North. And thereby outrunning our competition at the time, which was England and France. The war was started because the North didn't want to pay more for physical human labor than it did for the new and exciting product of the cotton gin. We use the abolition movement as a cover. Now, I'm not saying that people were not abolitionists or against slavery. They were. But the sheer majority of people who really were financing the war, Wall Street, that's my dog, Wall Street and the financiers were fighting that war for a cheaper way to bring about cheap commodities, that being cotton. Just as the technology changed the way we see the United States in the 1860s, technology has reached its point now in the 21st century. We no longer need poor people to scan our products, serve our soup, and or clean our homes. We have Amazon, Walmart.com, Target.com, and other Chewy and whatever other companies that ship our needs and wants, including food, including prepared food, where we no longer need people. And this is the reason. It's been going on for a while. It's just been exacerbated by the COVID pandemic. If you look back 18 months, commercial real estate was collapsing. People were being laid off by the hundreds of thousands. But really, what is going to transpire, unfortunately, and this is the part where I say, hey, Doug at Goat Hollow, you were right. Unfortunately, we're going to, no longer people are voting based on points of technology, points of I vote for this guy because he wants to do X, Y, and Z, or he has a point on how we're going to do business going forward, or taxation, or whatever. These are no longer an issue. What is an issue now is that I'm voting for guy A, the incumbent, because he represents who I am as a person, and the person who's voting for guy B is voting against person A because he doesn't represent who that first person is. There's no issue about whether people should get universal health care, whether taxation should be appropriate or not appropriate, what we're doing with other things like trade or whatever, because it doesn't matter anymore. Technology has reached its point where the rich no longer need the poor. It's very simple. And just like the Civil War, we're using other tropes to protect ourselves in the sense of civility or whatever. And the reality, nothing fundamentally changes. In fact, the candidate in alternate to the incumbent. And the reason why I'm using these terms is because I don't recognize either one of them as anything legitimate. But the incumbent, who is fighting to take over the White House, has told Wall Street nothing has fundamentally changed. Also, all these stimuli, corporate stimuli, have gone to Wall Street. Almost nothing has gone to Main Street, and almost absolutely nothing has gone to the average person. And there's a reason for that, because in reality, no matter who wins, there's going to be a civil war. The rich are going to encourage poor white people to kill poor black people, and poor black people and poor brown people are going to try to kill poor white people. At the end, just like with the Civil War, more people died in the Civil War than all the wars combined, including what we have right now. We still haven't reached the 50% mark compared to what we lost in the Civil War. And what happened after that Civil War? Well, we lost so many people that we had to bring people from Eastern Europe and from Europe to fill those jobs that are now part of the Industrial Revolution. Now we don't need people. Now we have technology. And we've already hit that tipping point. That Moore's Law happened last October. That's the reason why I stopped making videos, because it's not necessary. I'm just going to be just rehashing what's already happening. But the reason why I'm making this video today is quite simply because I want to tell you that if you're on one side or the other side of this discussion, whether you're for the Republican or the Democrat or whatever, you are cannon fodder. You are going to kill your brother. You are going to kill your neighbor. God forbid. But ultimately, what you should be doing is gearing up to reinvent yourself and learn the skill sets that you need to learn to live in this new world. And I'm not talking about a new world in the COVID sense. That's going to pass. If history is any representation of what will transpire in a couple of years, this will be a thought like the Spanish flu of the 1918 to 1920. By 2021, 2022, the issue will be gone. People will think of it as a footnote in history. But what will come out of this is a sheer collapse of the very rich being more rich and the very poor being eliminated by themselves. Wars are like that. They cull the herd. And I know that sounds incredibly crass and incredibly sociopathic. But the reality is, if you want to be part of the left versus right instead of the North and the South, ultimately the battle cry of the Great Draft Riots of 1863, where folks in the southern part of New York, of the island of Manhattan, yelled, "Rich man's war, poor man's fight." That wasn't untrue. But the reality is that we're going to kill each other off because of the color of our skin, or because of some idea that one troglodyte is better than the other troglodyte. At the end of the day, it's the very wealthy becoming more wealthy and the very poor becoming even more poor. And ultimately, if you are part of that, you're going to kill each other. And at the end of the day, the rich will be untouched. They'll be much more richer. And you will have eliminated any kind of worry of what we're going to do about the poor problem. Now, it's in your hands. You can allow emotions to dictate who and what you do, or you can step back and say, how do I ride through this? How do I create a better place for me to live? How do I eliminate debt? How do I learn skills like, making food from other, canning and stuff like that? This is not about prepping. This is not about surviving an apocalypse. Because in reality, the apocalypse has already come and passed. What is our point here is whether or not we will relearn and become and create our own universe and our own society. Ultimately, that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you need to be thinking about long and hard before November. Vote. Vote your local elections, because those people are going to still be staring at you when things go wrong. Do whatever your conscience guides you as far as the other elections. But at the end of the day, whoever wins, there's going to be riots. And people are going to start killing their neighbor or destroying their property because they have a different flag hanging from their house. Not an American flag, but a Republican flag or a Democratic flag or whatever this silliness is. Always remember, where everybody is going in one direction and they're going over a cliff, look back and see who's guiding them. The guide here in this case is Wall Street. They're very concerned, not about necessarily where you're going or what you're doing, but how quickly we can do this without harming our own property and our own money and our own assets. Understand that. Once you decouple yourself from that and that political mishigas, the sooner you can step away from the noise that's on television and on the internet and on YouTube here, and step back and say, how am I going to live going forward? How do I live without a job, without an income in cash? How do I keep myself separate from that? That means that you have to decide what you're going to do going forward, how you're going to hold on to your business or onto your job, as well as growing food and ultimately paying down or eliminating your debt, and if you can, do so. I'm offering you, unfortunately, both a sad aspect of what is going on, a planned elimination or destruction of capital, and an elimination of unnecessary items. Unfortunately, those unnecessary items are people. You could be part of that, or you can walk away from it and step away from that emotional thing and grow from that. The hope is, and the joy is that if you can get yourself away from staring at this computer or your phone or whatever, and start to develop skills that you need to live and eliminate debt and pay out or pay off or pay down your home to zero. Because once this is all shaken out, those who are going to hold on to little debt or no debt and hold on to their home are going to be better off than those people who are going to basically murder each other. Until next time, peace, and keep your eyes to the skies.